Hail to all, where we do not kneel. We do not. Hail to all. We do not. Hail to all. Now come on, Hollywood. Stop smelling your own farts. You might get mistaken for arse sniffers. Remember, when you go woke, you go broke. When you go woke, you go broke. Hail to the fandom menace. Hail to all. This is Bear Nerd Fun. Well, I've been thinking about the entertainment industry and man bad syndrome, I'll call it. I ran across this article on Deseret News. This is a 2013 article, and the title, Dumbing Down Dad, How Media Present Husbands, Fathers as Useless. So, the man bad movement was going on back in 2013. Maybe not as obvious. The Doofus Dad stereotype has always been around with characters such as Fred Flintstone, Dagwood, Bumstead. But you see, Fred Flintstone, it was funny. It was humor. But you get into this modern age and, you start getting to where it starts seeming and feeling like propaganda in Hollywood. Joe Kelly stands in front of a room of professionals. Some in the audience are school teachers, while others are therapists or physicians. He selects a man and a woman from the audience to join him on the stand. Looking at each other, says, "Okay, pretend each of you are 22 years old and have decided to get married and have children. You have a completely egalitarian marriage and you're going to share the rearing of your children equality." Kelly then turns to the woman and asks, "How many years experience do you have as babysitter?" The response varies from 2 to 5 years or more. He then turns to the man and asks the same question. After hearing the answer, that is usually none, Kelly turns to the audience and says, "Raise your hand if you have ever had a teenage boy who is not a member of your family babysit your children." At this point, with the room in silence, Kelly then says, "It doesn't happen, but then we get annoyed and frustrated when men don't know how to calm a colicky baby." When did you expect? What did you expect? Well, I grew up in a big family, and I never had problems raising my babies and my kids. Back to the article. According to Kelly, co-author, the U.S. advocacy group Dads and Daughters, Expectation for Men, which there should be. Not only have these attributes now standard to work their way into a majority of men in the media, they have worked their way into our homes. Images of men in the media. It's not hard to find if you watch TV when you're most likely witness the portrayal of the modern day husband, father, lazy, incompetent, and stupid. What they're not telling you is the man just worked 12 hours on a very labor-intensive union job. Man comes home, sits down, wants to have his beer, and then have dinner. They're not telling you that. They're not telling you what he did all day long in his union job or at the steel mill or in the coal mine. They're not telling you that. Just these three characters are sure to bring to mind one commercial or sitcom personality's type of man. One evening, after watching Homer Simpson wreck the family car at a monster truck rally and plunge the skateboard into a spring-filled gorge, my 6-year-old son asked me, "Why are dads on TV so dumb?" Wrote John Terry from the New York Times. Where did we fathers go wrong? We spend twice as much time with our kids as we did 2 decades ago. But on television, we're oblivious. Jimmy Neutron, Trouble, The Sopranos, Deranged, Malcolm in the Middle, and generally incompetent. Everybody loves Raymond, even if dad has a good job like the star of Home Improvement. At home, he's forever making me messes that must be straightened out by mom. The Doofus Dad stereotype isn't new. Basically, Doofus Dad stereotype is what we would call now man bad, I guess. There's Fred Flintstone, Dagwood, Bumstead, even Charlie Brown's monotone parents. But according to Tierney, the consistency of these new portrayals has slowly created a new norm opposed to what being a father used to mean. While dads in Leave It to Beaver and the Donna Reed Show had flaws that were close to where they thought as a perfect part of the idealized white American family. They obviously didn't see my family. Half white, the other half Mexican, Indian, Spanish. Yeah, they didn't see that. Bob Thompson, director of the Blear Center of Television and Popular Culture at Syracuse University, told CNN. Later shows such as The Cosby Show, Family Ties, Growing Pains, Full House showcased caring dads of new generation. Later allegations of sexual assault against Cosby, however, have forever changed the way that particular show's namesake is viewed. But by the 1980s, more shows wanted to distance themselves from the corny, syrupy stuff, and in step shows such as Married with Children and The Simpsons. And that's just to mention a few examples within the sitcom sphere. Commercials have also created their own standard for men. Ad after ad makes doltish dad the butt of all jokes, wrote Seth Stevenson with Slate magazine. He's outwitted by his children. He's the target of condescending eye rolls from his wife. He's a dumb, incompetent, and sometimes even selfish oaf. But his family loves him anyway. So all this man bad stuff, 2013, was just rolling around. Maybe it started sooner than that, I don't know. But I just did a little bit of searching and I found this article. I found another one here in a second. We're going to go over that one. That's a little bit more agenda. For example, a Huggies diapers commercial which aired early last year to prove Huggies can handle just about anything. We put them to the toughest test. The manageable dads alone with their babies in one house for 5 days. The assumption that dads can't take care of their own children was offensive to one man in particular, Chris Routley of Baronsville, Pennsylvania. I hope I said that right. It's like Brennanville, there we go, Pennsylvania. Is a stay-at-home dad who decided to take action after viewing the Huggies commercial. Rowley put together a petition on change.org. In his statement, Rowley wrote, "Why not find a way to celebrate dads in a way that doesn't minimize, stereotype, or judge us as, at best, well-meaning but second-class parents?" In March 2012, Rowley received more than 1,000 signatures in the petition. Huggies contacted Rowley, promising to remove the ad to create a new ad that showed caring, competent fathers. CNN reported the new commercial slogan produced by Huggies, which stated, "To prove Huggies wipes can handle anything, we asked real dads to put them on the test with their own babies on spaghetti night." Matt Campbell, an administrator of mensactivism.org, expressed his own concern about the consequences of such media. Negative general portrayals of fathers, husbands, men in TV commercials and sitcoms contributes to a decrease in men wanting to assume those roles in society, and creates the impression among others that men need not assume such roles anyways. That such simply aren't important. Society views just as harmful. Some men, however, just laugh. Men have always made fun of themselves, said the New York Times best-selling author and social philosopher Michael Gurian. The kind of things that are done with men in the media would never be done with women. And that's just sort of a given. But men don't mind. They live by joking and putting each other down and lifting each other up. But the negative is that they can only be okay if the rest of society has a basic understanding and respect for boys and men. Well, it is true. Men do joke around that way. Me and some friends of mine, we joke that way sometimes. But I don't think we take it to the level that they're implying here. Back to the article. Kelly implies that the problem is larger than merely what is shown in the media, but how we act within our own home. I think we as a culture are blind spot when it comes to the role of men in families. Men, women, both. Kelly said, I don't believe it's a manner of injustice or anyone being victimized. I don't know if I agree with that statement. I think it's habit. This habit is that men are of secondary importance in the life of a family. Well, from a narrative point of view, in Hollywood, I believe that could be significant. I think as a culture we have a blind spot when it comes to the role of men in families, men and women. Both. Kelly said, I don't believe the manner of justice or being victimized. You think it's a habit? Therefore, we all kinds of expect men to be secondary, and it's not surprising that attitude plays itself out in many ways in our culture, in media portrayals, and in the habits we have as families. Agenda. Narrative. Media. Putting it out there. If expectations of men within society aren't up to par, the only role model young men have comes from Peter Griffin on Family Guy. There may be room for worry. Although with the stereotypes of men being violent, Gearing said he's also concerned about the system that minimizes the father role in the home. Alright, if they've already proven that violent video games don't cause violent behavior in studies, they've discovered this, then wouldn't that the same be said of violent TV shows? Just a thought. Back to the article. They're kind of stupid and they're not needed, Gurian said regarding fathers in the media. So the message to young people is that males are not needed or dad is not needed. Well then the media, man bad, definitely a message being done today. And maybe this started in the late 90s. Maybe it started then. It's hard to say. I just did a little bit of research for this right now to see where this started, and I found this from 2013. So, who knows how far back the agenda goes? I remain optimistic that family still has more influence than media, Kelly said. Sarah Sanders Peterson is an intern for Deseret News, where she writes for Mormon Times and other feature articles. She is a communications major, university. And does everybody remember headline news? It used to be CNN headline news. Dads to media, stop playing us as idiots. This is actually maybe when CNN did serious news. Now, let's go over here. How to Kill the Patriarchy. I found this. And I'll leave the link to the article in the info. Destroying any system productive capacity requires interference in the ability to produce specific results of any kind. Now, let's go down here. Patriarchy, noun, a system of society, a government in which a demographic is head of the family and descent is traced through the demographic line. A system of society or government's demographic holds a power in other demographics which are largely excluded from it. a society community organized on patriarchal lines. Well, I would like to think that we have mostly egalitarian society, and I believe that things need to be egalitarian. Now, we'll go down here. Poison pill. This is so effective it works 99% of the time. It's called the poison pill for obvious reasons. Strategy. Trying to achieve equal composition of all ethnicities will discriminate against the deserving. Those trying to achieve respective ethnic composition matching the local population will chase their tails endlessly as a country is ever changing. So, if you focus on deserving ethnicities, does that sacrifice those that are deserving and those that earn it? It's a good question. Counter. Providing equality of opportunity rather than outcome presents the most cost-effective approach to producing a fair return. Better than equal fairness is progress. Therefore, progress is the antidote to irrelevance. Quick steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. Start post-modern culture war to define new ideal way of life. Yeah. Hollywood. Narrative. Man-bad syndrome. Achieve this by 3-part scorched earth approach. Shit all over anything from the past, good or bad. All must be burnt to the ground. Be the spark that lights the fire that burns the old culture down. Simultaneously give a complete pass to anyone cleave to the postmodern establishment political correctness. The new standard, correct language and ideas must be celebrated at every opportunity with the group, signals to reinforce the alienation of non-compliant. In other words, man bad, narrative, bad fathers being painted in a bad light. 2. Demand equality of outcome, because most are incapable of producing ideal life. Raise a victim class, perhaps a racial quota, the illusion of legitimacy, and displace criticism. Define the community movement as a liberation. Nobody held an election, so in order to presume the voice of people, one must A. Speak often enough so that's true, and B. Severely smear anyone. Oh, sort of like the actress that played 13 in House that said, "Kill the patriarchy." I saw her in a video say it. Yeah. And speak often through it's true. B. Severely smear anyone who makes claim. You will never find a better human shield than those willing to let you represent them without personal accountability. Man bad. Agenda. No accountability. Legislate behavior required to achieve equality. That'll be clear. The organizing culture has shifted enough toward the preferred social composition, whereas the production loss noticeable and customer complaints increase. However, this is the time to double down. Ironically, it has nothing to do with specific ethnic composition, so don't worry about accidentally hiring a good worker. Remember, this plan depends on the generalization of the Pacific, not on the Pacific composition of which we are applying as a convenient strategy. There are other themes for you to choose from, e.g. feminism, unions, etc. Disney and CBS controlling narratives, writing bad stories that signify and pander. A. Make even more general rules, double the staff meetings, and double the amount of participants. Create stupid, silly rules that slow things down. Create an environment of fear. That's what the writers in Hollywood have right now. They're in an environment of fear. They fear to write a good story because they don't want to be mocked. Or have real strong feminists come out and accuse them of this or accuse them of that, or say that they're being chauvinistic. A. Make even more general rules, double the staff meetings, and double the manipulation. Participants, not manipulation. Scream that general policies are not being followed well enough and production is suffering for it. Fail to give specific examples. Complain that progress in the equality is lacking. Implement a de facto ban on any discussion about specific policies through a show bureaucratic mechanism indefinitely blocking communication. Does this sound familiar? It should, because this is what Hollywood is doing in their processes. They're putting agenda out there, they're putting propaganda, and people are living under fear because they don't want to be called names and they want to continue working. And if you get called out by feminist groups, it could make it to where you don't work again. Blacklisted. Fire someone just to make the point. Make sure their kids are there when you do it. A pointless and expensive picnic for special staff would suffice. Play the video later at the office on YouTube. Then give a speech lauding the virtues of a social safety net. Virtues, virtue signaling, pandering agenda. From this point forward, the enterprise will zombie along, consuming and disrupting its network. Sound familiar? Disney, CBS, zombie, consuming and disrupting its network as it winds down, running out of resources for those willing to prop it up. Any other enterprise connected connected in the meanwhile will in time absorb similar behavior. The good work of destroying the patriarchy or master race or whatever narrative you go with can continue automatically and go viral. So yeah, narrative. The revolution won't be televised. Any system with a specific goal can be destroyed through the conversion of specific ideas to general principles to the cost of efficiency of purpose. The erosion to the specific result is constant and almost unavoidable once the process gets going. The abstraction of purpose, the sublime, corruption. Walk through the ruins of broken lives knowing you are a champion of the people. Not really, not when you went out of your way to destroy people with your agenda and your narrative. And this was just a couple days of looking at different articles and reading stuff. And if you want to read this whole article, I will leave the link in the information. Hail to the family members. Hail to all, where we do not kneel. Hail to all. Remember, when you go woke, you go broke.
Please subscribe to Bear Nerd Fun. Smash the like button. Goodbye.
Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Say hello.
Hello.
Say nerd fun.
Nerd fun.
Nerd fun. Nerd fun. Say goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hail to the Phantom Menace.